Welcome to today's webinar where we're going to talk about thriving as an independent practice post-pandemic. We know that now, especially independent practices are facing challenges due to COVID-19 pandemic, and we really hope this webinar will help shed some light on how you can strengthen your practice despite all of these challenges. And for those of you who are not familiar with Klara, just a little bit about us. We are an end-to-end patient communication and engagement platform, and our ultimate goal is to enable practices to bring patients the convenient experience they demand while making operations more efficient. And a huge way of how we do this is by digitizing workflows and offering a better way to communicate that allows for both a world-class patient experience and a smooth workflow on the practice side. Today, we serve thousands of healthcare professionals across more than 40 specialties, many of which are independent medical practices like yourselves. And these practices use our secure messaging, telemedicine, workflow efficiency, and patient journey automation features to connect with and care for their patients. So your host today is Simon, our co-founder and co-CEO of Klara. So Simon, I will let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Ashley. I'm Simon Lorenz, co-founder and co-CEO of Klara. So I'm excited to talk to you about this topic today. A little bit more to my background. I was basically born into healthcare since everyone in my family is a physician. So from my great-grandfather to my father, mother, uncles, aunts, sisters, cousins, everyone is a doctor. So I was destined to become a doctor myself and started working in a hospital and private practices when I was 16. And soon I realized that, the challenges and the opportunities to improve the efficiency and quality of care. I went to join a leading management consulting firm, so didn't go into a private practice. But I learned in this management consulting firm from the more business savvy industries and then applying methodologies and tools also for the healthcare side. At the same time, during that time, kind of the iPhone came out and I started navigating through my own healthcare using this device, sending photos to my mother and sister, plastic surgeons, scheduling appointments, going to a pharmacy, everything I, basically did over my phone. And so it was then where I realized that the technology is the ultimate lever that will bring the biggest innovation into healthcare. Not only when looking at the actual procedure and surgery, but also when looking at the service and the communication aspect. So that's why, we, meaning my co-founder, who's also called Simon, founded Klara.
Awesome. Thank you, Simon. So within the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to cover a variety of topics, including why you should consider staying independent, the core elements of a successful independent practice, how technology can help you stay independent and still offer a stellar patient experience. And finally, we'll have time for questions. So feel free to add questions in the Q&A box or the chat throughout the session. We'll answer them as we go if that makes sense, or we'll save them for the end during the designated time. And just a final housekeeping item, we'll send everyone who registered the recording. So just let you know that you'll get that after this session. So don't worry about taking too many notes. All right, Simon, over to you.
Thanks, Ashley. So again, today's topic is about how to thrive as an independent practice post-pandemic. But first, let's look at the consolidation trends in the health space and what the pros and cons are of staying independent. So hospitals, health systems, and private equity firms are buying up independent medical practices. Over the past years, this trend has accelerated, but there are nuances, meaning this does not apply to all sizes and specialties equally. Some lend themselves better in order to realize economies of scope and economies of scale, and some do less. So also, when looking at consolidation trends, always take it a little bit with a grain of salt, because we have seen consolidation or consolidations appear in waves in the past, which were followed by phases of unbundling again. But here's some interesting stats, that manifest that we are within a wave of stronger consolidation right now. And COVID is looking to put even more financial pressure on independent practices, forcing them to consider rolling up into larger organizations to de-risk themselves. So between 2016 and 2018, 8,000 medical practices were acquired by hospitals. And in the same time span, 14,000 physicians left private practice to work in hospitals. In 2019 alone, there was more than $60 billion in private equity deals with independent practices. So you can see, like, these are strong indicators that, you know, we're moving into a consolidation wave. So you know, let's dig into this a little bit deeper when looking at the impact of COVID-19. So a recent study by Fair Health found that in the Northeast, small practices experienced an 80% drop in utilization and a 79% drop in revenue in April 2020. What's more, federal relief in favoring large practices and health systems. In fact, 4 major hospitals or hospital operators, all of whom are publicly traded companies with significant access to capital, have received between $195 million and $700 million in federal aid. $195 million and $700 million in federal aid. That's a huge number. Meanwhile, struggling independent medical practices have received at most only 2% of their annual revenues in federal assistance. So you can see how this is kind of unevenly distributed. But is consolidation a good thing? And do independent practices want to be acquired? Let's look into this. And let's look into the pros and cons. So a pro obviously is, so what speaks for being rolled up into a bigger health system or something like that is you have increased access to capital to invest in growth areas. There's obviously less entrepreneurial risk for the doctor owner. You're not like responsible anymore for everything. If the revenue numbers are not going up, it's not all on your shoulders anymore. And then there's also that, you know, you can share functions, organizational functions like procurement or contract negotiations with insurance with a larger pool of practices. And in most cases, the entity acquiring you takes over a bulk of administrative or business side of medicine, so you can focus on what matters most to you, which is seeing patients. So there is some big factors that speak to being acquired, but there's also a flip side, meaning physicians don't have the same say or control that they're used to be when they're working as an independent entity. In many cases, newly acquired practices join large entities with more bureaucracy. So decisions take more time, there's less flexibility and willingness to try new things. You have to use the same software, maybe you don't like the software. So there is some transition period, which also puts some strain on your staff. Then thinking about compensation, your compensation usually decreases by 30%. Sure, you might get a 7-figure buyout as a part of the acquisition, but unless you're close to retirement, you might end up losing money or making less in the long run. So please look at these numbers very carefully, especially if you're a younger physician. You should look at the real dollar benefits. And then lastly, what we've seen and heard, that your patient experience will likely worsen or become less personalized. So let's look at it from the patient perspective. In a 2018 study found that 69% of Americans favor congressional action to limit consolidation of healthcare. So they don't really like that tendency. 60% view purchasing of independent practices as a threat to affordable care. And 25% saw it as a direct threat to their health, which is pretty impressive to see. So it's pretty obvious that patients prefer small independent practices. And what do providers say? So Dr. Machata, a family physician who runs an independent practice in Rhode Island, said that small practices are better for patients and for doctors. Why is that? Let's dive a little bit more onto this in the next slide. So again, on the patient side, a 2014 health affairs study showed that patients of small practice physicians had a lower rate of preventable readmissions than those in larger practices. Pretty interesting. Small physician-owned practices provided a greater level of personalization and responsiveness to patient needs at a lower cost per patient, which is pretty significant. And now talking about the doctors, the Journal of the American Board of Family Medicine notes that doctors in small independent practices are happier and report greater professional satisfaction than those employed by large groups. In fact, while 55% of American physicians are burned out, burnout only affects 13.5% of the small independent primary care practices. So, and on top of that, you can practice medicine in your own way. So you can do whatever you want and you don't have to adhere to some formal processes. So chances are you got into medicine so that you could help people, right? Not just so that you can make money. So as an independent practice, you can continue to help people on your own terms, however you like it. Fortunately, you can stay independent and keep the control, flexibility, patient experience, and compensation that you're used to, practice medicine your own way, and still reap the benefits of getting acquired. You can make your own technology decisions. And not only that, you can try them out and adjust as you go. Sometimes you don't know if this certain technology works for you, right? Or for your staff. In other words, you're not restricted to technology you don't like from a bigger organization that isn't open to change. They're not going to just change the entire, systems just because you don't like them. You're going to be fit into the larger organization. Create a better patient experience and better advocate for your patients. This is especially important because in order to stay competitive as an independent practice, you must be an attractive choice for patients and referral partners. And you do that by having a great patient experience and as a result, a high patient satisfaction. So focus your time on actual patient care. When you offer a better patient experience, your patients are more likely to return, recommend your practice, write positive reviews, which is extremely important because we all know that I will not go in a restaurant or order out of a restaurant if they don't have positive reviews, or I will not order this item from a seller in Amazon if he or she has negative reviews. So all of which will help bring in new patients that you can see more of. So you will be able to remain financially stable and grow your practice. All the while, you'll be able to pivot and innovate during uncertain times like the current pandemic. So let's look at a couple of examples of private practices that are kind of revolutionary. We wrote that work. I mean, we wanted to share this with you that you can understand where is kind of the future going, right? What are the modern concepts of practice models? And you probably have heard of One Medical. I'm not sure if you heard about Forward or Parsley Health. These are membership-based models that put the patient in the center of the care. Not only do they prioritize long-term health and well-being, i.e. focusing on how to keep patients healthy 24/7, not just, on treating illnesses, not just coming in, get an antibiotic and get out of here. They also make it easy for patients to book appointments, talk to a doctor, submit insurance and consent forms, etc. They're convenient for patients. So they put that service level really, really high up and understand how patients prefer to communicate, right? Patients don't want to be on hold all the time. They want to communicate via text. That's what we do every day. We are on Instagram, we are texting, we're using WhatsApp, and we don't want to have paperwork in our pockets. So you might be thinking, I can never be a One Medical or compete with a One Medical. But the truth is you can, and we want to help. My co-founder and I, we founded Klara because we believe a personal touch in medicine is essential. We want to be a partner to you so you don't feel that you're going it alone. So we're kind of saying we're bringing the One Medical future digitized practice experience into every brick and mortar practice in the country. So in this next section, I'm going to show you how. So the core elements of a successful independent practice are actually quite simple and can be divided in two categories. First, a patient-first experience, and then streamlined workflows, so efficiency. And they actually go hand in hand. So when you have these, you will be able to increase patient volume, see more patients on a given day, and grow your practice. So patient-first experience means that patients love you, they will stay with you, they will obviously also recommend you, right? And they will also provide positive reviews. Streamlined workflows means you're not spending money on unnecessary things. Plus, if you're working more efficient, that also benefits the patient experience because you're getting back to them faster. And all of this will help you generate more revenue because more patients will stay, more patients will come, and you will spend less money on the operations. To get these core elements, a patient-first experience and streamlined workflows is you need to innovate, right? Like that's the bottom line. So innovate for your patients. After all, they expect a convenient and safe experience. Let's look at some numbers. So 80% of patients select providers based on convenience factors alone. 80%. 96% of patients' complaints are around customer service and communication. They have nothing to do with the actual care. And only 13% of Americans plan to schedule a routine visit in their doctor's office immediately after COVID, right? So they don't want to just come in for any like refill visit or a general consultation. They don't want to risk themselves in getting infected with something. And also they are now not only want to risk themselves, they also understand that this is way more convenient than, you know, traveling to the office, sitting in a waiting room, etc. So this is where the trend is going. So you need to create an experience that values their communication preferences, their time and their needs, and that ensures a safe environment where COVID-19 or, you know, the disease exposure is low to almost no risk. And you also need to innovate for your practice, for you and your staff. That way you can recover lost revenue, be more efficient with your time, and see more patients. After all, traditional workflows aren't, you know, helping your bottom line. In fact, almost 50% of a physician's time is spent doing busy work, even with the EHRs who are, you know, documenting everything electronically. And I know that a lot of physicians complain about the EHR, but there are a lot of benefits to paper charts. But even with this technological help, they're still spending a lot of time doing busy work. While 27% is spent seeing actual patients. So there's more on the administrative side and less on, you know, treating patients. That doesn't make sense from a doctor's perspective. On top of that, you know, your staff is wasting time, right? Like we have studies that say that up to 3 hours are per day per staff are wasted playing phone tag with patients. So trying to reach the patient, leaving voicemails, not reaching the patients, etc. And this accumulates. So this wasted time means you're losing revenue or you're paying people for not accomplishing anything. In fact, $50,000 in revenue is lost annually per physician on average because of busy work. $50,000. So the first step towards innovating is by embracing technology. But Rebecca Call, VP and Chief Innovation Officer for the University of Texas, she makes a great point about technology in healthcare. Technology alone isn't enough. You need a solution that can elevate the patient experience and the provider experience. Right? It needs to be a solution. It cannot just be a technology that has great features. It needs to work seamlessly into the provider experience. It needs to be easy to use and also for the patient side. In other words, you can't replace everything you do with technology, especially for an industry that is so personal. Instead, you need a high-tech, high-touch approach to your innovation, which we've seen done so well in other industries. And I'm just going to pick out some of them. So personalized technology solutions have disrupted a number of industries. For example, look at, you know, ride sharing apps like Uber and Lyft. they take kind of the inconvenience away from getting a taxi or car. You don't have to stand outside, hail a cab, or call a landline, book a car, then wait, not knowing exactly where the driver is and when they will arrive. And you don't have to like show them the instruction where to go, and then they go to the wrong place, and then you still have to pay manually. You don't have the cash, and etc. So it's a schlep. It's the same is true for streamlining streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, or YouTube TV. They're putting kind of the customer experience first. They're allowing users to watch their favorite programs on their own time without having to go somewhere to physically rent a DVD. I know this is a long time ago, but nobody's doing that anymore. But still, that's how this industry completely transformed, because it was more convenient for the user. And it put the user in the center. So these companies leverage technology to create personalized experience for their users that are also convenient to them. So how this high-tech, high-touch approach looks for your practice is this. On the high-tech side, you use technology to automate the business side of things, the administrative work, the paperwork, the routine patient communications, etc. You integrate your communications with your EHR and other systems so that everything is seamless. You and your staff spend less time on the busy work and more time being productive on other revenue generating areas. Which sounds a little bit cryptical, but you have more times with patients. They will appreciate it, and it will turn into a positive business impact for your practice. For high touch, you could use a medical answering service to provide a personal connection so that when patients call, someone actually answers the phone, right? So you don't have to wait on hold for so much time. But in most cases, the person answering the phone can actually have the right answers to their questions. And often, they're reading off of script. They usually can't do much. They typically take a message and then tell the patients to wait for someone in the practice to get that back to them, right? So they leave a note to someone in the practice, and then the next day someone gets back to them. And if there's an emergency, they will direct them to the emergency line. And it still then takes a while for someone to get back to the patient. So it's not a great experience. And on top of all this, medical answering services are expensive. And they don't help with any of your time-consuming administrative workflows. They're almost like just a Band-Aid, right? So what you should really think about for high touch is giving patients what they want and expect. Convenience. Make it easy for them to contact you. Submit insurance information, fill out intake forms, etc. And offer a variety of care options from in-person visits to telemedicine. Do this by allowing them to text with you, chat with you over a messaging service on your website, or fill out forms online, right? When your solution looks like this, your patients will be happier, and you can have more time for what really matters most, patient care. And again, patient care, patient experience will result in a more positive bottom line for your practice. So how can you actually implement this high-tech, high-touch approach? In the final section, I'm going to show you how to leverage technology in a way that makes you more productive, honors the patient experience, and respects your P&L. Also, you can remain independent and achieve sustainable growth. Let's start with your patient workflows, including everything from appointment scheduling and reminders to insurance collection to actual visits and follow-ups. Digitizing these with solutions like Klara lets you automate routine outreach, scheduling, insurance intake, and paperwork, right? This allows you to create a safe, contactless experience that is also convenient for your patients. That is especially important right now. I know that a lot of patient portals or your EHR partners, they promote their patient portals from this. But my question to you is, why are they suddenly working when they have never worked before, and where patients are calling in trying to get their passwords, etc.? They simply cannot solve that problem, and they cannot simply have all the features, but they're not solving in a way that it is easy for the patients to use and your staff to maneuver through. And it frees up your time and your staff so you can focus on areas, right? If you offer this automated experience. In the next few slides, I'm going to show you what a digitized workflow looks like for your patients and your practice, and how you can seamlessly offer both in-person and telehealth visits. So all of this, like, always imagine, it doesn't really matter if you have an in-person visit or the telehealth visit. Klara can accompany both sides. So you can seamlessly offer video visits with Klara, in-person visits, smart messaging, and efficient team collaboration, all in one place with simple integrations into your EHR. You can unify all elements of your practice communication in a single platform. So no longer you have like disjointed software providers that make it very difficult for your staff. And it's just one unified messaging thread for the patient, right? And it seamlessly incorporates any kind of virtual care elements into your practice workflows. So it reduces really the complexity to maneuver through different systems and workflows. So it unifies everything on one place, which makes it easy again for your staff and your patients. So for your patients, they can contact you via their preferred method, whether it's that you give, we give practices their own textable number, whether they want to call, so Klara integrates with the phone lines, or whether it's when they're on their website, they can actually contact you with a web messenger. Like you see when you go on different websites, web messenger pops up. That's what users are used to, and these users are actually your patients, so they want to have the same experience. So regardless of how they contact you, you and your staff only have one place to go and view these messages. So you don't have, again, several different areas where you can access these patient inquiries. Even voicemails, which are recorded and transcribed into Klara. So not only that, patients can easily schedule and confirm appointments via quick text prompts from you. They're automated, of course. And they can simply submit insurance information and other intake concerns forms using the same process. So you can kind of think about like the patient journey that I showed you before. Everything can be automated and customized to your workflows. And it is super convenient for the patient to use because it's just texting. And it's super easy for your staff to use because it's simply just texting. All you need to do is set up what workflows you want to have so it fits seamlessly in your practice workflows. For actual patient visits, you can manage workflows for both in-person and telemedicine visits, as I said before. We recommend creating a visit strategy around this, where certain visits like actual medical procedures and certain evaluations are designated as in-person, while the rest will be done via telemedicine. So a good example, like please, this you have to do for your own practice or assess for your own practice, but you have to reassess if it really makes sense to get someone in for a refill, or if this is a good use of telemedicine at that moment, so that the patient can have the best experience and so that it also doesn't crowd your waiting room. So regardless of how your visits is conducted, you can use Klara to maintain a single digitized workflow. That means basically we promote both. We don't care if you want to do it via telemedicine visit or if you want to call in the patient. What we care about is maintain a digitized workflow where, for example, they can schedule a visit for an in-person visit, or they can schedule a visit for an telemedicine visit. For in-person visits, your digital workflows are especially important because they allow you to offer a safe, contactless experience. Collect insurance and other intake forms electronically before their appointment. So no need for your patient to hand an insurance card to your front desk or use a communal pen or clipboard to fill out paperwork, right? Keep it all safe and healthy. Eliminate the waiting room altogether. Allow patients to text you when they arrive. Have them wait in their car until their room is ready. Then text them to come in. Or follow proper safety protocols inside. Have everyone, patients included, wear masks. Have staff in full PPE gear. so masks, gloves, etc. Screen staff daily and text patients a COVID screening questionnaire prior to the visit. Disinfect before and after the appointments. And you can inform the patient about all of this using a good communication system like Klara. Telemedicine visits can happen via Klara. They're obviously secure and HIPAA compliant. The workflow works the same for telemedicine visits as it does for in-person, right? You still need to schedule the visit. You still need to fill out paperwork, etc. And everything is done seamlessly and automatically so that your staff doesn't have to do all of this manually. And there's a lot of built-in functionality in the telemedicine visit or the video call that can enhance the visit, such as screen sharing, such as digital virtual waiting room, where you can present test results, x-rays, educational materials, allowing you to better engage with your patients and really provide that added high-touch personal component. So it's not just like a video call, there's a virtual waiting room, and then we enhanced the video visit with like screen sharing, like I said, and you can even message with the patient while doing it. And to make your job even easier during the visit, you can work in Klara and your EHR side by side while the televisit is taking place. This way you can view and edit your patient's chart, the practice calendar, etc. in your EHR while messaging or holding video visits with your patients, all in one single window. So all in all, Klara will allow you to provide that high-tech, high-touch experience that puts patient care at the center of everything you do, and that makes you and your staff more efficient. You'll be able to see more patients and increase your revenue, all without oversight from a private equity firm, hospital, or health system that ultimately views your practice as a money-making entity for them and not a provider of preventative and diagnostic care for your patients. So if you're looking for more information on telemedicine, contactless care, or how to actually get your virtual workflows off the ground, tune in to our previous webinars, which are amazing. Which are now available to watch on demand on your website and on our website, sorry.
We could just post them on everybody's website everywhere. That'd be great. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're just going to open it up to questions or comments. Anybody have anything in the chat, or you can chat in the Q&A box. We'll just give people a minute. Okay, well, it looks like we don't have any questions today. So Simon, unless you have any other closing thoughts, I think we can end here. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah, maybe the last
yes, thank you.
The last thing that I want to say, if you have more follow-up questions, not right now, but maybe later, and are interested in scheduling a demo here, contact us at sales@klara.com or go on our website and book a free demo with us. We have the right staff that knows all that what I was talking about and can dig deeper into the workflows and give recommendations for your practice.
Great. Thank you so much. And I just actually will throw that in the chat now. So that's also the link. You just need to copy and paste. And yeah, thank you so much for attending today, everyone. If you have any follow-up, just reach out to us at sales@klara.com, or you can also follow that link to book a consultation with our team.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Have
everybody.
a great day.
Bye-bye. Bye.